begin our look at sports with two teams of destiny. That's likely the only way to describe the newest NBA and NHL champions. First, the Toronto Raptors. 5 years ago, Kawhi Leonard paced the San Antonio Spurs over the two-time champions, the Miami Heat, of course. On Thursday night, the superstar became a super team killer when he finished off the dynastic Golden State Warriors' two-year run as champs and again earned the Bill Russell Trophy for MVP. The Toronto Star capped an historic postseason by becoming the first player in history to win Finals MVP with a team from each conference. Leonard earned the honor following the Raptors' 114-110 Game 6 victory to close out a 4-2 series win. Lost in the shuffle of all of this was the incredible play of Golden State's true warrior, pun intended here, Klay Thompson. Thompson left the game in the midst of another great performance in the finals. He had 30 points in 32 minutes, going 8 for 12 from the field and pulling down 5 rebounds. But it wasn't enough as the Raptors edged the Warriors down the stretch without Thompson. He tore his ACL in his knee, but not before coming back, sinking 2 free throws and playing one more defensive stop. In the end, it wasn't in the cards. Well, it was in the cards for the Raptors, but not, of course, for the Warriors. A really, really good team, Toronto, that didn't play the best of the Golden State Warriors. More perspective on this in the C list. On the NHL ice, the St. Louis Blues story might even be more remarkable. They literally went from worst to first in the same season. It's January 2nd, and the St. Louis Blues are the worst team in the NHL. They fired their coach 43 days earlier, but haven't improved under their new interim skipper. But something clicked from that day forward, and on Wednesday night, the Blues ended a 52-year drought with their Game 7 win in Boston, final score 4-1. From January 3rd through the end of the regular season, the Blues went 29-10-5, unlocking a north-south forechecking game that eventually was like a wrecking ball swinging through the Stanley Cup playoffs. Ryan O'Reilly was the hero. He's been rather good at that throughout the playoffs, and especially in the Stanley Cup final. For that, he won the Conn Smythe Trophy for MVP. O'Reilly scored 8 goals and 23 points in 26 games to help lead St. Louis to a championship. He only got better as the stakes got higher, too, scoring a goal in each of the final 4 contests of the playoffs. The last player to score a goal in 4 consecutive Stanley Cup final games, Wayne Gretzky, back in 1985. Another serious option for that award was goalie Jordan Binnington. He was unreal in net. Time for some quick hitters from around the world of sports. Injuries really destroyed Golden State's chances of three-peating. Klay Thompson's torn ACL will likely keep him out for a good portion of next season. Fellow teammate and star Kevin Durant was the casualty in Game 5. Durant confirmed that he suffered a ruptured Achilles tendon during Monday's victory. He made the announcement on his Instagram account Wednesday, adding that he underwent surgery right here in New York. The Boston Celtics and Los Angeles Lakers are engaged in separate trade talks with the New Orleans Pelicans for All-Star Anthony Davis, league sources told ESPN. The Lakers' number 4 pick has been discussed as a trade chip to help the Pelicans acquire a high-level player in multi-team deals. 3-time All-Star point guard and Bronx native Kemba Walker said he'd be willing to work with the Hornets and would take less, imagine that, than the Supermax $221 million contract he's eligible to receive if he signs with Charlotte. The Hornets can offer Walker, their all-time leading scorer, a 5-year contract worth up to that amount. Other NBA teams can only offer a 4-year deal worth about $140 million. Boston Celtics star Kyrie Irving is changing representation and is expected to partner with Roc Nation Sports. Irving parted ways with his longtime agent on Wednesday, clearing the way for him to ultimately work with Jay-Z's Roc Nation prior to the start of NBA free agency on June 30th. Irving, a 6-time All-Star, will become an unrestricted free agent. League sources say he remains intensely interested in the Brooklyn Nets. Good news there. And a landmark appointment for the NBA, the Cleveland Cavaliers have hired University of California, Berkeley women's coach Lindsey Gottlieb to be an assistant coach. Gottlieb, a Final Four and 7-time NCAA tournament head coach for the Golden Bears, is the first women's collegiate head coach recruited to an NBA staff. In the octagon, UFC lightweight champion Khabib Nurmagomedov shot down the possibility of a Conor McGregor rematch at a news conference in London on Wednesday morning. Nurmagomedov, who was promoting his upcoming fight with interim lightweight champion Dustin Poirier, questioned why McGregor merited a second chance at the belt. Nurmagomedov and Poirier will fight for the unified title in the main event of UFC 242 in Abu Dhabi. Boye was, he's won 4 in a row, Rena. Most recently, a unanimous decision against featherweight champion Max Holloway. You weren't paying attention. Nurmagomedov has not lost in 27 professional fights. He submitted McGregor at UFC 229 last October by 4th round neck crank. The winner of Nurmagomedov versus Poirier, I'm going to neck crank you, yes, is expected to face Tony Ferguson, who is riding a 12-fight win streak. He defeated Donald Cerrone, the Cowboy, at UFC 238 last weekend by 2nd round TKO. In boxing, Tom Schwartz has the unexpected opportunity of a lifetime as the opponent selected to challenge lineal heavyweight champion Tyson Fury on Saturday at the MGM Grand Arena in Las Vegas. The bout marks Fury's much-anticipated return from his epic draw with title holder Deontay Wilder on December 1st in Los Angeles, in a fight many believe Fury deserved to win, despite suffering 2 knockdowns, including a heavy-duty one in the 12th round that he miraculously survived. In baseball, speaking of survival, Boston great David Ortiz is doing much better. Current Red Sox infielder Eduardo Nunez, a former Yankee, lamented the fact that Ortiz was shot in their native Dominican Republic, calling the incident an international shame. Nunez, who is friends with Ortiz and shares an agent with the former Red Sox star, told ESPN's Marley Rivera that he spoke with Ortiz on the phone Tuesday, less than 2 days after the shooting at a club in Santo Domingo. Although Nunez said he was happy to hear that Ortiz is recovering, he said Dominican players feel really embarrassed that a legend like Ortiz was shot in their homeland. Police in the Dominican Republic have arrested 5 people in the shooting on Wednesday and said the plot was more complex than originally thought. The plot to kill Ortiz, a national hero in the DR, involved 2 men on a motorcycle working with 2 other groups of people in cars. On to better news, the New York Yankees have signed first-round draft pick Anthony Volpe, a high school shortstop from nearby New Jersey, for a bonus of $2.7 million. Volpe, who grew up a Yankee fan, was introduced to the media Monday at Yankee Stadium before the team's scheduled Subway Series against the New York Mets was rained out. He met manager Aaron Boone and players in the clubhouse and says the whole experience has become a surreal dream come true. In the NFL, the Oakland Raiders will be must-see TV in their final season before moving to Las Vegas, and it will be documented like never before as the team announced Tuesday that it will star in HBO's Hard Knocks come August. In 13 editions of the series, the past 3 teams have missed the playoffs. The last team to make the playoffs was the 2015 Houston Texans. The most wins in a season, you ask? How about 11 by the 2010 New York Jets and the 2013 Cincinnati Bengals? The Jets, speaking of them, they have a new GM. Joe Douglas stepped up to the podium with a big smile and plenty of pleasure this week. The 42-year-old Douglas paid his dues for years as an assistant in the front office in Baltimore. He was also in the front offices in Chicago and Philadelphia. He is now the main man for the first time, and he assured Jets fans that he's more than up to the task. In golf, we begin play at the U.S. Open at Pebble Beach. Brooke Koepka will be after something extremely special this week. If he wins, he would be the first player in more than a century to win 3 consecutive U.S. Open titles. In motorsport, the MotoGP World Championship turns 70 years old this weekend. And in the U.S. Women's World Cup, Team USA once again looks like the team to beat. Every good story needs a good villain, and the Women's World Cup in France might have just discovered its very own. The reigning champions and the #1 side in the world got straight down to business in its opener against Thailand, ranked number 34, with a record-breaking 13-0 win. Those are the headlines. We hit the C-list for a final thought on those Golden State Warriors. I definitely did not see that coming. Ironically, I believe last July when Kawhi Leonard went to Toronto in a trade that they could easily end up in the NBA Finals out of the East. Of course they could. I just never thought a team from the East could knock off those Golden State Warriors. That's the thing, though. Not to take anything away from the Raptors, but Golden State really ended up defeating itself. Injuries did the Warriors in, not the Raptors. But that's the beauty of sports and playing the games. You have to be healthy enough to win it all, and sometimes things just roll your way. The Raptors got tons of support from their bench and their role players, the same in the Stanley Cup Finals for the St. Louis Blues. Winning a championship takes stars, of course. It takes the soul of the collective, and it takes, to a large degree, a lot of luck. At least that's the case with teams that could win for 1 year. I'm not too sure if Toronto will become a dynasty, but I am sure that the Warriors for the past 5 years have been one, and the team's chances next season don't look very good, but I'm hoping Clay and KD stay and give it another run the following year. Their wills to win gave many haters newfound respect for a dynasty that was, for the most part, hated around the NBA. Meanwhile, for the Raptors, winning the title proves that any franchise could really do it. They worked their way up the last few seasons and made the big deal that pushed them over the top. Kawhi Leonard. It was an incredible series, one that I did not want to see end. That's your sports. I'm Bobby C.